Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Bob Beaton here. I'm interviewing Ken Mynhardt, the coach of the Port Huron Northern Huskies. We're glad to be with you tonight, Ken. Ken, what's changed in wrestling from the days of when you wrestled, and how does it benefit young people?
What I've noticed when kids are wrestling nowadays, the best wrestlers are much, much better than what they used to be. We have four-time state champs that had never happened before. So there's a lot more skill involved. When I wrestled a little bit before that, there was a lot of brute strength, whereas now there's a lot more finesse. So there's a lot more skill involved in today's wrestling than what there was back in the past.
Now, how about the weight training programs and, of course, the community gymnasiums and all those kinds of things? Has that had an impact on wrestling?
The kids that have the programs that have a lot of weightlifting involved in their program, they get a lot stronger, they have a lot more endurance, and it makes a huge impact on the mat. When you see boys that cut weight and they have a nice muscular body, they usually do a little bit better than the ones that aren't.
Now, cutting weight, some of the people in our audience might not understand about cutting weight, but why do wrestlers have to cut weight?
The reason that they cut weight is actually it's a healthy thing. A lot of people think it's a bad thing, but what they're doing is getting rid of excess body fat. When a kid comes in and they have extra fat, they weigh more, and they're not as strong as they should be proportionate to their body. So now when we cut weight, we get rid of that fat, and now they're proportionate to their body, so they're stronger, so they're going to actually be a much more effective wrestler.
And for the listeners, is it true that they have to get weighed at the beginning of the season, and then they're weighed throughout the matches that come up to make sure that they're not cutting too much weight? I mean, there's kind of a range in there that they have to be in order to be eligible to wrestle, so that somebody doesn't end up doing things that are not right in order to cut weight. Is that true?
That is true. What happens is they do an initial test and they do a fat test at the same time. And what the state says is this is as low as you possibly can go, and then it says when you can actually get that low. So you can't cut weight too fast. You can only lose 1.5% of your body weight per week, which is a very safe limit.
Well, Ken, we wish you all the luck this evening and the rest of the season. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're coming to you from Port Huron Northern High School, where Port Huron Northern Huskies will be wrestling the Utica Chieftains. We're starting out at 135-pound weight class, and we have Parker Willard wrestling Brandon Rasho. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure to be here this evening. Earlier, they introduced the parents for the Huskies, and a lot of proud parents and a lot of proud wrestlers here. And here we have attempted takedown by the Utica Chieftains. Let's see if they can make it work. Nice counter by the Northern Husky wrestler, Parker Willard. No one has gained control here yet. Although if the Utica wrestler gets his head up, he will get a 2-point takedown. Let's see what happens here. Kind of watch for that, see if he can make that happen. It may be difficult, but the Northern wrestler is getting too high now. He's going to push out. Just watch it. There he pushes out, and he'll get 2 points for a takedown. So Utica moves ahead 2-0 in this particular match at 135-pound weight class. The score is 0-0 as we just started. Attempted chicken wing, stand up and a switch. Nice attempt at a stand-up switch. Less than a minute left in this first round. As you know, you have to be ready on that whistle. You want to move quickly to gain your advantage. There's a nice attempt to stand-up switch, and he's got the leg. Will he get 1 point? And he might get 2-point reversal. So that ties the score up at 2-2. Nice move by Parker Willard. He'll be back. Utica will be down. About a half a minute left in this first round. Attempted stand-up. Take him back to the mat. See what he can do with this. He's going to be a stand-up. You see immediately good technique from the Utica wrestler trying to push those hands down, out, and away. But they were off the mat, so the score remains 2-2, and Northern will be on top. Stand-up has become very, very popular, and it kind of goes by teams as well. So Utica is showing that as a major offensive move here. Potentially dangerous hold there. But we're at the end of the round, so no matter. So Utica chooses the up position. There's a shot at a single leg. You're going to see him lift, twist, and trip in some form or fashion. Nice defensive move by the Northern wrestler. And he tries what we used to call a gator move, and he's not quite, yep, he's going to get 2 points there. He's got an arm bar underneath, reaching through, maybe try to get a cradle. Trying to get that half in there. That would be frequently referred to as a half Nelson, but it's got a leg right in there. Utica's going to kind of want to shake him down so he can get him off his base there a little bit. Northern wrestler is awful high. And we get a stalemate here, so we'll go back to the center of the match, center of the ring, center of the mat. There's a stand up again. There's a bring into the mat. There's a caution. Caution to the Utica wrestler. Could cost him a point if it happens again. You'll note that the referee is very, very specific about when he wants wrestlers to be called in and what position to take. There's a reversal by the Utica wrestler. That'll tie the score at 4-4. Nice move by the Utica chieftain, Brandon Rocho. And now the Northern wrestler counters, and let's see what he can do. Can he flip over? He does. He may be able to get out of this, at least neutralize it. He does. He gets a 1-point escape. Good wrestling by both of them. Very competitive match at 135 pounds. Our first of the evening. And we're going to go into round 3. See the Utica wrestler asking for advice from the coach there. Get some. And Utica lets him up. That gives Northern one more point. It's 6-4. Now, why would he do that? He would do that because he thinks he has a better opportunity to take him down and get 2 points and maybe go into a near fall to get 5. See, there was your shot. A little bit far out, but also a good sprawl by the Northern wrestler. A good defensive move. Let's see if he can get behind one way or another. One of the things that you kind of want to watch for, one of many, but is where the head is. If Utica can get his head up, he's got an advantage here. Very evenly matched here. Score is 6-4. And the referee says you're back in the middle of the match, so we'll see. As they start in the up position, standing position. Whoever gets this takedown may win the match. Referee's telling them they've got to wrestle. Can't stall. Particularly if you're the Utica wrestler, you're behind by 2 with about 25 seconds left, so you've got to make a move here. He needs 2 to tie and 3 to win. Warning for stalling. And there it is, a victory at 135 pounds for Port Huron Northern. That'll be 3 points for the team. We'll now move on to 140-pound weight class where Jordan McGregor.
And for the Chieftains, Ian McGregor.
We have McGregor versus McGregor. So we have Jordan McGregor for the Huskies and Ian McGregor for Utica. Once again, one of the beautiful things about wrestling is that you're of the same weight. Might not be of the same body structure, but you are of the same weight. That's not always the case. There's a shot at a single leg. Gets cross-faced. And partial stand-up cradle. Can he pull it? Trip. Utica counters with a cross-face, and Northern ends up on top. 2-point takedown for Jordan McGregor. Utica in a down position. You see the referee saying set, and then he calls in the Northern wrestler with his hand on top. And there's a stand-up. We've seen that as a very familiar move by Utica as they stand up, and now he's trying to get away, and they go off the mat, so they'll be back and down. It's hard to see that, but they're both very tightly locked up here, and they're both straining a great deal in order to try to get an advantage under there. Northern does have a leg ride, single leg grapevine. Northern wrestler so far maintaining good position, not too high. And we're off the mat. Got about 15 seconds left in the first round of this 140-pound weight class. Caution Utica. That's a little bit like offsides in football. You always want that advantage, and you try to guess when the whistle's going to go, and sometimes you're a hero for it, and sometimes you're not. Attempted roll through by Utica, and now Utica's trying to get over on his grapevine leg and trying to push off and stand up, but the match ends for the first round, and so we go into the second round. Jordan McGregor takes down. We'll see what his move of preference is. This is a little different setup. This is a right-hand ride. Probably a left-hand wrestler. So, stand up here. You saw there an attempt to bring him back to the mat. You have to be very careful with that you don't pull him back right on top of you. So you pull them back, but you pull them back to one side or the other so that you can get out from underneath and still maintain control. So we have a single leg grapevine by the Utica wrestler. And now we've got stand up by the Northern wrestler. He's twisted out of that very nicely. Let's see what he does with it. Utica, nice control. There was an interesting call by the referee. He called it right, but one wrestler's in, but the wrestler that's on the defense is still in. Why he doesn't want to take the advantage away from the wrestler that's on top, and so he lets it play out a little bit. And here's another stand-up. Tight ride by Utica, but he lets it go, and Northern gets a 2-point reversal. That'll make the score 4-0. In favor of the Huskies, Jordan McGregor. In case you missed it, we had an interesting parent introduction this evening. A lot of proud wrestlers, a lot of proud parents, and we also had a very fine interview with Coach Mynhardt. Northern needs to score several more team points here because they do have a couple voids this evening, which automatically gives Utica 6 points per void. I don't know whether you saw that attempted ankle trip there. As he had what you might refer to as a bear hug, but then he tried to do the trip in the back. And we got about 7 seconds left in this second round. It's McGregor versus McGregor. Go to round 3. The score is 4-1. Utica chooses down. There's a attempted switch. You saw him arch and lean back. That's what you need to do, but you need to do that fast and hard. Rarely does it work in slow motion. The reason for that is it gives the wrestler on top time to counter. So this crossface by Northern. Might ask him to let go of this. That could be a choke. He'll watch it closely. Northern has a single leg grapevine. Trying to work those shoulders over. He's in a good ride position. He's going to have to really arch it to get the back points. No back points yet. Utica wrestler needs to get his head up if he wants to get out of this, and the Northern wrestler needs to hold it down and twist him. He may want to get a hold of that arm and pull him back. Get underneath. It's a chicken wing. I think he's working on that now. There's some back points. Score is now 6-1 in favor of Jordan McGregor of Northern. Northern get a few more back points, he could increase the decision to 4 instead of 3. Let's see what can happen here. We got about 4 seconds left. And there it is. That match is over at 140 pounds with Jordan McGregor, the winner. That'll give him three more team points. So now we're at the 145-pound weight class.
Wrestling now for the Huskies, J.J. Caldwell for the Chieftains, Steve Swade.
We have J.J. Caldwell for Northern and Steve Swade at 145 pounds for Utica. That's Caldwell for Northern. Two-point takedown by Utica. Just kind of worked into that attempted offense and little defense right there. And they're off the mat. A lot of straining there. A lot of conditioning being called on even here in the first period. Here we have J.J. Caldwell wrestling Steve Swade. Okay, the wrestler for Northern needs to get up on his base. That's difficult to do because Utica wrestler's got a good tight ride in, but that's what he needs to do, get his head up. We're going to have a cradle here by the Utica wrestler. Got the half in there, and he's going to drive it and get some back points here. Nice move by the Northern wrestler to get off. This match score is 4-0 in favor of Utica. Northern wrestler trying to good effort here. This may be tough to get out of. He's got good positioning. Up, and the round is over, so you'll get 3 points. And we'll make the score 7-0 in favor of Utica. We're now going into the second period. Utica takes down. See a stand up here, I'm sure. Utica trying to shake him out a little bit here. He's got that leg ride. He's going to try to pull that over and roll, and then push those hands down out and away just like you would in a stand-up. And now he gets a 2-point reversal. Score is now 9-0 in favor of Utica. Good effort by J.J. Caldwell. Needs to mount some offense here. Good effort there by Northern's. JJ's not giving up. This is a tough ride by Utica right now. He's got that arm bar. And he's working it now. This will be very difficult to get out of. It's a very tough pin hold right here. He's up a little high, but basically his positioning is reasonably good to put the weight chest to chest. But once again, question here was the pin call before or after the whistle blew. So they'll go to the scorers table. And the decision is that the pin was before the clock was called, so Utica gets 16 points. And we're now going to move on to 152-pound weight class where Kevin Cordes, that's Kevin Cordes for Northern, and we'll see who it is for Utica.
Wrestling at 152. For the Huskies, Kevin Cordes, and for the Chieftains, Kevin Arazo.
It's Kevin Razzo for Utica versus Kevin Cordes for Northern. Like this is going to be a spirited match. So we like to see lots of offense. And we're trying to get a single leg takedown here by Utica. He's going to lift, twist, and trip if he can. Northern's going to counter with a cross face and sprawl. Pretty fundamental and traditional moves, but if you don't know how to do them, you can be in deep trouble. Utica needs to get his head up, and if he does, he'll have 2 points. There's the head up. You got to follow the head. The head's so important. So now Utica moves out 2-0. And he's got a cradle and a grapevine here. He's going to get some back points. Don't think he can pin him. Yep. And the referee says you're off the mat, so the way back to the center we go. I'm going to look for a stand-up here from Northern. There's your stand-up. Wasn't off the go, but that was the move. When you're on the bottom, it's so important that you make an extremely quick move. I mean, it's just got to be rapid fire because the weight on top is against you. So the way you counter that is by making quick moves. And we're off the mat. So at the end of the first period, the score is 4-0 in favor of Utica. The team score is tied at 6-6. Port Huron Northern down. Utica called in. Here's another stand up. Up. Potentially dangerous hold. We're going to start this over. I was talking about how important it is for the man underneath to make a quick move. It's also important for the man on top to make a quick move to counter to get an advantage. So wants to break him down. What you're seeing here is an attempt at a cradle, and that didn't work. So now they're stand up, and Northern's going to try to get a reversal here. He's working on it, and nice recovery by Utica wrestler. Not a parent's here, and it's very personal when your son's out there wrestling, and you always hope that they're going to be on top. Doesn't always turn out that way, but it's still very exciting anyhow. You can just kind of feel it in your bones as you tense up. And attempted stand-up switch, and they're off the mat. We have two other matches going on here this evening. Got Port Huron High and Lons Cruz. We have a junior varsity match going on over there. Lons Cruz junior varsity and the Chieftains junior varsity. Northern's got to get to their base, and Utica's got to watch he doesn't get too high. You get that high, you got to pull a move through all the way, or you can get reversed quite easily. If Northern wrestler can get his head up. What you're trying to do under there is get room to move. Room to move, that's what you need. That's why you shake and bake and wiggle, but all with purpose. This is where the Northern wrestler needs to get some points here. He is behind 4-0, but he's on top. Working on getting the cradle under there. Utica wrestler might get cautioned for stalling here. If you're the Northern wrestler, it's time to gamble because there's about 1:20 left. He is awful high though. He needs to get back or else really pull this move through. Utica just kind of turtling up under there, which is a good defensive move, especially when you're ahead, but there's the caution that we mentioned earlier. And now this could go either way. The Northern wrestler is not in the greatest position, but he does have control. But if Utica could have pushed back into him, it could have been, and then twisted, it would have been a reversal. Back in the day, there used to be riding time. That's not a factor in these matches. definitely discussions as to whether there was accurate or not as far as the riding time, because a second could make a difference in a win if it were tied at the end of the match. There's the end of the match. A very good period for Kevin Cordes, but not sufficient to get a pin, and so Kevin Erazo at 152-pound earns a victory for Utica. So we'll move on into the 160-pound weight class, where Mitchell Schrader will wrestle for Port Huron Northern.
At 160 pounds for the Huskies, Trey Lumpkins, and for the Chieftains, Sam Mason.
And Sam Mason for the Chieftains. The team score is 9 for Utica and 6 for the Huskies. And we have a little equipment malfunction there. And so here we are, back at 160 pounds. Utica's in pretty good position here. Now that switches to Northern, and now it's back to Utica. It's kind of the old bear hug at the waist. He needs to lift and twist him a little bit. There he does. He gets 2 points for a takedown. No back points. But that's a hold. They like to go right from a takedown to back points, so you get 5 and maybe a pin. Stacking him here. He's pushing his head down and under and lifting up on the midsection. And he's got what's called a ball and chain there for a moment, and now here's an attempted sit out. And Northern's going to be in a tough situation here right now. Good bridging on his part, but this may be hard to get out of. And he does. 3. So that makes the individual's match score here now 5-0 in favor of Utica. Where Sam Mason leads Mitchell Schrader of the Huskies. So we're going to the second period. You watch these referees, you have to give them a lot of credit. Boy, they have a lot to keep track of, and things happen fast, and so you always appreciate a referee doing their work, being in control of the match, still letting the wrestlers make their moves, but watching for safety issues. Here's a reversal and into a pin hold. He'll get at least 3 for this. I don't think Northern's got enough leverage to pull it back, but we'll see where we're kind of in a stalemate right here, but Utica still maintains control. Good work by the Northern wrestler not to get pinned, and good work by the Utica wrestler to gain 2 points. In case you're wondering what the difference between 2 and 3, it has to do with the amount of time and the angle. About 40 seconds left in this match. And we're off the mat. Good attempt at a stand-up. See the half in there. He's trying to run it and turn it. Push his head down and twist it, which he's done well. And now he's in a pretty good pinhole position. He's got nice position, chest to chest. He needs to spread his legs out, be on his toes, but Northern Rustler is giving him a difficult time. But there's 3 more back points. So that makes the score 12-0. Mitchell Schrader not giving up. But it's one of the beauties of wrestling that at any moment it could be over and the man with the most points could win because of a pin. There was an attempted takedown, but what happened is the Northern Wrestler pulled him right on top. So Utica picks up 6 points. Score is now 14-6. We have Sebastian Taylor for Northern at 171 pounds and Avery Fluitt at 171.
171 pounds for the Huskies, Mitchell Schrader. And for the Chieftains, Avery Fluitt.
Avery Fluitt for Utica. Northern gets 2-point takedown. The name announced was Mitchell Schrader. Mitchell Schrader, let's see what he can do here. Avery Fluitt, nice duck under and takedown. Northern Wrestler's got to get his head up, get to his base to get some room to move in there. There he goes. Good effort. Utica tries for that cradle. Northern sprawls. Utica's going for that arm bar on the far side. Looks like he may try the cradle again. He's trying to get his arm under the knee, back part of the knee there. Now he goes for a half. Now he's got an arm bar. And Porter Northern stopped partway through his stand-up as the end of the period comes. The score is 3-2 in favor of Utica, where we have Avery Fluitt and Mitchell Schrader for Northern. Nice switch, but I think there's going to be a penalty point here for locked hands. So that ties the match at 3-3. We've got Mitchell Schrader for Northern and Avery Fluitt for Utica. Northern wants to stand up, it looks like, or grab a chicken wing, and Northern wrestler working very hard to get those hands off. There's a stand up, push down, out and away. Counter by Utica. There could be a roll through here by Northern, or Utica defends it. Northern's got a leg, he's going to kind of roll through. He's trying to hook it, try to push back into him. Utica's got that single leg grapevine in. Utica trying to get an imbalance in the weight distribution so he can use that to his advantage. He'd like to get that over his head. Up. End of the period. We're in the third period and it's tied 3-3. So what happens if there's a tie? Well, in a tiebreaker, if no scoring occurs in the third and the 32nd ultimate tiebreaker, the offensive wrestler will be declared the winner. So that puts it in the judge's hands, which at this point in time is the referee. So one more match point will be added to the offensive wrestler's score to determine the final match score. Okay, Northern like to mount some offense here. There's about a minute and 30 seconds or so to go. And rolls through. Now he needs to go. He needs to push hard, and Utica needs to push back the other way. We'll see who wins this. There's a roll through and a kick out, and a single leg in and down. 2-point reversal. Good wrestling right there. Nice sequence by both wrestlers. Let's see if Northern can do pretty much the same thing, and no, Utica rolls them back. Good defense, good offensive move. Let's see what each of them has left. Boy, they've been wrestling hard. Caution on stalling. Northern needs to go for broke here. Stands up. Pushing down, out, and away, and pushing back. Now he's going to try to switch, and he gets away for one. So now it's 5-4 with about 20 seconds left. Utica's going to try to prevent him from takedown, and Northern's going to hopefully shoot for a takedown here in an offensive manner. So this is going to be a stalemate here. About 10 seconds left. And the stalemate will favor Utica because they're ahead by 1 point. And there it is. A very good match, ladies and gentlemen. Team score is now 17 for Utica and 6 for the Huskies.
Now wrestling 189 pounds for the Huskies, Sebastian Taylor, and for the Chieftains, Eirik Culberson.
At 171, that's 171 pounds. We have Sebastian Taylor for Northern and Eirik Culberson. Shot at a single leg, countered by Utica. Utica trying to shotgun, go behind, and he does. He kind of throws him to the mat. So 2-point takedown. He's got a cradle. See if he can pull it over. There he's pulling him over, and he's on his back. And this is pretty good. I don't know if Northern can get out of that or not. And he does fight out. 3 points for Utica. That makes it 5-0. Tried to stack him. This will be tough to get out of. There, he gets the points. 6 more points for Utica. That'll make the score 23-6. We move on to the 189-pound weight class.
Now wrestling at 215 pounds for the Huskies, Matt Quayne, and for the Chieftains, Kyle Walker.
At 215 pounds, Matt Quayne versus Kyle Walker for Utica. Utica has 2 points. This match is heating up. And we see the right-hand side ride, which is unusual for some wrestlers because everything is reversed. Been there, done that. It can throw you for a loop. You need to understand how that works. And there's it half in. Utica wrestler driving it. Good position on his part. Got that arm locked underneath. And he's got a cradle. He's probably going to have to roll on through with it. I don't know if he can or not. And the Northern wrestler gets a break in there, and can he take advantage of it? We'll see. There's the old playground headlock there. He needs to get his head out. He does. He gets a 2-point reversal, and that ties the score at 2-2. Matt Quayne for the Northern. Kyle Walker. And 2 points for Utica, and we're into a pinhold here. You see the referee counting the seconds. You see him giving you the angle there. It was a 2-point. Utica's probably not in a position he wants to be here, but he is in control. But there's the end of the period, so we move on into round 2 of this 215-pound weight class. The score is 6-2 in favor of Utica. Northern needs some points. He needs to mount some offense. Utica has the leg and is going to drive into him, and if he can get the head up, he'll have 2 points. Now he needs to swing around. Northern's going to try to stop that. Northern wrestlers on the bottom as Utica rolls and switches on top, and now is going to get 2 points for reversal. And he goes into a cradle hold, and this is in there pretty tight. Locks his leg over the Northern wrestler's leg. Northern wrestler will squirm, and he's able to squirm his way out. Utica got 3 additional points. And now Utica gets a cradle. He'll try to pull him back. Now he's got a cross face. Utica try to sit out. Bull tries to switch. Good effort on his part. It's Matt Quayne for Northern. And there's another cradle. Cradle being under the leg and over the neck. It's one of the few times you can lock your hands is when you're in a pin hold. Two-point reversal for Northern. That makes the score 9-5. Conditioning is going to begin to play a part here. They've been wrestling hard. A lot of points scored. Locked hands is going to be a penalty point. Technical violation against Northern for locking hands. That means the score is 10-5 as we go into the 3rd period. Northern wrestler's too high. He's going to get shaken, baked down, and Utica gets his head up. Northern could be in deep trouble here. Yep, right into a pin hold. That's a positioning we talk about so often, ladies and gentlemen. You think you're in control, and all of a sudden you're not. Sometimes one wrestler just wears another wrestler down, so it takes a while, but near the end of the period, why, it can all happen. See the high school principal, Chip Mossett, here. He used to be a wrestling coach at Sandusky. And we have a bloody nose here, so we'll have an injury timeout. See if we can get that fixed up. We have Amy Nelson, the trainer. She'll take care of business down there. Amy's at nearly every athletic event that I know about. She also works, I believe, for Port Huron Hospital as a physical therapist, and so we applaud all of her work and efforts, as well as we applaud E.J. Shea and Josiah Kreidler, our technical crew this evening. Appreciate all the hard work they do behind the scenes, setting up the interview with the coach, as well as manning the camera and sound system during the actual event. Northern stands up. He's got to make a move from there. Got to make a move from there. Gets taken to the mat. Attempts a roll here. Can he do it? Can he roll in or roll out of it? It's like he's going to roll into it, but the Utica wrestler is too high. Now Utica's got that leg right in there. Very difficult to get out of. And now he's going to get his arm pulled back and go into a pin hold. Good effort by him. Good effort by Matt Quayne, keeping from getting pinned here. The match score is 17-5 with two more, make it 19-5. Could be getting close to a technical fall here where there will be 5 points awarded for this, one less than a pin. If that's true, it'll be 28-6. Referee's coming over to check. They only gave him 4 to make it 27, so they'll check that score and we'll relay it to you. So we're going to move on into
Utica, Andrew Ackerman receives a win by Boyd.
So we have a couple voids here. And so now we'll move on to the 103 pounds.
For the Huskies, Stephen Cleaver, and for the Chieftains, Johnny Rodriguez.
So we have Stephen Cleaver for the Big Reds, no, pardon me, for the Port Huron Northern Huskies, and Johnny Rodriguez for Utica. There's an oxymoron for you, the Little Giants. Good offensive move and good counter. Years from now, these boys will grow up, or a year from now, and be some real studs at a higher weight. Let's see which way this goes. Could go either way. Nope, Northern's going to get this advantage. And Utica gives a reversal. So it's 2-2. Neither wrestler likes to be in this position right here. Utica's way too high if he doesn't pull that all the way through. There's attempted roll through that we were talking about. But his own body is in the way of to prevent him from getting a pin. So now we've got a stalemate, and so back to the center of the mat we'll go. Lots of action here tonight. We have wrestling on 3 mats. If you're a wrestler, come on out and see what it's like today. If you don't know much about wrestling, stop out anyhow and see what's going on. Just a lot of action. Just tremendous conditioning required. Just remember, you stand alone out there. There's nobody to blame but yourself when you're on the wrestling mat. No lucky punches. But it is a sport of sudden death, whether that comes as victory or as defeat. Stefan Cleaver, can he get a reversal? No, he can't. Good offense, good defense. If he can get his head up, he wants to pull that leg in. And Utica wants to get around behind, which he's doing now with the leg ride. Positioning, positioning, positioning. When you get up high, you better do something with it. Caution for stalling to Northern. Northern needs to push back. Whoop, he missed an opportunity. Needed to push back into him and then turn. Now he needs to pull that in and push in and get his head up. If he can get a reversal here. And which way is it going to go? Which way is it? It does get a reversal. 2-point reversal for Northern and into a pinhole. This will be at least 3. What a change of events here. Stefan Cleaver coming back. And there's a pin for Stefan Cleaver. For Port Huron Northern. That'll make the team score 33-12. Well, there's a perfect example of never giving up when you're on the bottom, and good things happen. So now we'll be at 112-pound weight class where Austin Thompson for the Northern Huskies will wrestle Andrew Powereski. That's Andrew Powereski.
Now wrestling at 112 pounds for the Huskies, Mitchell Knott, and for the Chieftains, Andrew Powerski.
We have a name change here. It'll be Mitchell Knott for the Northern Huskies versus Andrew Powereski. Powereski shoots a 2-leg takedown. See if he can get his head out so he can get 2 points, or if Northern can counter. There's 2 points for Utica. Let's see what Northern can do. Stand up. Brought back down to the mat. Gotta love these little guys. Lots of action, lots of energy. This is 112 pounds. There's a half, and I think they're going to be off the mat. Boy, you can just feel the excitement in this building. Nice crowd here tonight. Austin Thompson needs to get up to his base, get his head up. Utica, of course, is doing a nice job of preventing that, so it's not easy. That's where good hip strength and good shoulder strength to push your body up. But it's all about the core. When it all comes right down to it, it's all about the core. Got about 15 seconds left in this match. And we have 2 more, 3 more for the evening. 119, 125, and 130. tries to stand up. Northern throws him down, but lets it loose. And Utica shoots for a two-leg takedown, and he's going to get a two-leg takedown. And 2 point for the reversal. I guess what they did there is they didn't count them individually. They counted it as one, so that's only 2 points. So that still makes it 4-0 in favor of Utica. He's got the half in, and he's driving it. Nope. Yes, he does. And potentially dangerous hold. Attempted stand up. Trip back down. Northern's going to try to roll. Utica follows. There's John Vernick. Had two boys wrestle at Northern's, had a couple team state championships over in Lapeer, and now he's helping Joe Johnson at Port Huron High School. This is in pretty good. Good positioning by Utica on chest to chest. And there's 6 more points for Utica. The score will be 39-12. And we move on into the 119-pound weight class. We'll wait and see what they call here from the public address system. We're never quite sure anymore. There's a lot of gamesmanship that goes on with trying to shift people around one way or another. And
at 119 pounds, wrestling for the Huskies, Austin Thompson, and for the Chieftains, Cody Brown.
Yeah, we just had a reversal there. This is Austin Thompson at 119 pounds. Cody Brown. There was a good example of some gamesmanship. So we just really have to wait to see who's going to happen, because the roster that we've given at the particular weight class, they can change. Sometimes have 3 or 4 people weigh in at a class. There's a 2-point takedown for Utica. Well, we got a leg right in there. That'll be tough for Northern to move out of. There's an attempted cradle. Utica in pretty good position here. Going to try to tip him. Got that leg in there. No, yep, I was going to say Northern needs to stand up, and he does try. And now there's a sit-out switch. Sit-out comes around, and he needs to get his head up to get either 1 point or 2 points, depending upon what he does with it. Good move, good move. It's a very close wrestling match, one of the nicest matches of the evening here. We've got Austin Thompson versus Cody Brown at 119 pounds. Score is 5-2 in favor of Northern. about wrestling. You never want to give up. It's never over until it's over. Two-point reversal. It makes the individual match score 7-2. Favor of Northern. Here's a pin for Northern. So Austin Thompson scores a pin at 119 pounds. And we'll listen for the public address system on 125 pounds here. It's Robert Leal. It's Robert Leal at 125 pounds for the Northern Huskies. And Jeremy Stewart for Utica. Team score is 39 for Utica, 18 for the Huskies. Let's see what Robert Leal can do here. 2-point takedown. Trying to cradle here. He's a little out of position. Let's see. Maybe he's going to roll back into it. Might get some team back points here. Or match back points. Not the position he'd like to be, but that doesn't mean he can't get some points. He's got to get the legs in there. Utica's got to bridge and roll. Try to get some space in between. You saw that almost happen there. Kind of see some give and take there. Neither wrestler likes to be in that spot, but you get to that point where you tip one way or the other, and it's just an instant. Could have this in pretty good. His own elbow may be preventing him from pinning him. Unless he moves, and we can't see it now, but sometimes that happens where your own arm prevents the shoulder. And we're at the end of the period. The match score is 8-0 in favor of Robert Leal. Northern going for that pin. See if he can get it. It's not the position he'd like to be, but better on top than bottom, but let's see if he can hold it. Yep. And we go back into it. The whole deal here is controlling the head. If you can control the head, the rest of the body is going to go with it in this particular situation. Sometimes you just get plain tired and give up. You don't give up, but boy, there's not much you can do, even though you're struggling all that you've got left. Good bridging effort by Utica. Good bridging effort to shake him off a little bit. Get those shoulders up so he doesn't get pinned. And Northern's getting awful high here. If he breaks that leg ride, he could get a reversal here. You watch for it. You watch for it. He has to hold on to it. Good recovery. Good work by the referee, too, getting in position. See if he can get the pin for the end of the match, or end of the period. Three more back points. That makes this score 17. Northern needs to get back on top here because they don't want to be in a position where he's way ahead and then gets pinned. So it's really important for him to get back in control. He stands up, he's got the leg, see what he can do with it. Attempts to switch, stand up switch, he's able to pull it, he's able to pull it. That makes the score 16-2 and they go back into a near fall position. Let's see what happens with it. Good bridging effort by Utica. Takes a lot of strength, a lot of conditioning. Not the best positioning by the Northern wrestler, but it's better than when you're on top. But it does provide some options for the Utica wrestler on the bottom. Gives him a little space, but there's a pin. So that gives 6 more team points to Northern. That'll make the score 39-24. And we'll wait for the introductions here again because it could go one of several different ways. You've got Kevin Nygren at 130 pounds for the big Huskies here, and John Rehm. Northern jumps out to a 4-1 score here. Attempt to go behind and stand up cradle. Does he get it? Gives that up. It goes into a pinhold. It's Kevin Nygren at 130 pounds. This is our last match of the evening. There's a pin. Kevin Nygren makes the score 39-30. Pretty good match given the fact that Northern had some voids. So we appreciate all the hard work of both teams. And we enjoyed the interview with Ken Mynhardt this evening. It's been my pleasure to broadcast this for you this evening. I'm Bob Beaton wishing you a great wrestling season. Stop out and see some of the finest athletes in the area.
Mr. Stout.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Under Division for Instruction and Administration, we're being asked to approve the issuance of 23 General Education Development Certificates. Could we have a motion supporting that recommendation?
So moved.
Support.
Discussion? Mrs. Rucker?
Ms. Chapman.
Yes.
Mrs. Damashki.
Yes.
Mr. Herring.
Yes.
Mr. Krewall.
Yes.
Mrs. Sheets.
Yes.
Ms. Bayless.
Yes.
Mr. Stout.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next up, we're being asked to adopt the Michigan School Readiness Program Resolution. Mr. Shorkey, a little explanation?
That's our four-year-old program that was held hostage by the legislature until mid-October. We started 3 sections with our carryover money from last year. When we got the okay from Lansing, we added 6 more sections for a total of 9. And as typical every year we do this, we start the programs in the fall, but the paperwork doesn't come through on the resolution from the state until December. And this is the opportunity for the board to approve that GSRP participating resolution.
Thank you. Could we have a motion supporting that recommendation?
So moved.
Support.
Questions?
I'm confused.
Okay. Question?
Well, because there are so many different numbers in here, how much are we really getting?
Robin?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your question.
How much are we really getting? I mean, there's so many different numbers in here.
We have an allocation of $914,600. We will be, we have in place 9 sections, as Mr. Shorkey indicated. We put our 162nd student in the program in the last week. So that's bringing in, for the operation of that program, $550,800. There is a balance of $363,800 that will be used as an offset to the foundation allowance at this time, and can be revisited if the board wishes to do so in the fall, to begin programming earlier. Problem that we ran into this year, as Mr. Shorkey mentioned, was that our notification from the state came so incredibly late. For us to put in all of the sections, we ran into a number of issues. Some of it had to do with making sure that we would have highly qualified staff available. Then we were looking at the possibility of having impact in existing classrooms, finding locations for all of the classrooms. In many instances, it was going to be creating a hardship on the building. And probably the biggest reason to look at delaying this was the fact that we would be running a program through approximately August 14th in classroom or in buildings where we had no administration. Right now, the programs that we have, the 6 programs that we did add later in the school year are going to run through July 8th. And at that time, we do not have principals in our building. So we're dealing with a safety and security issue as well.
Thank you. Mrs. Mosier, is this pre-funded? We fund this and then get reimbursed?
I'm going to defer that question to Tina.
The entire allocation actually comes to us with the state aid payment each month, beginning in October through next summer.
Do we incur costs to start and get reimbursed, or we don't start till we get the money?
No, we actually did start incurring costs at the beginning of the year with some carryover monies. This particular amount that's referred to, the $914,000, comes to us beginning in October. And I don't remember the exact timing of when we put the sections in, so it's possible we incurred some expenditures before that money started coming back in.
Okay. If that was the case, then, once again, to make my point, part of the purpose of fund equity and having some money on hand is to be able to do things like this in advance of being reimbursed by either the state or federal government on those occasions.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes.
Ms. Chapman, please.
I must have misplaced my paperwork on this because I don't see the numbers that you're talking about.
It's on,
They're on the
we're
back.
doing front and back now, so it'd be on the back of this
They're on the back of
memorandum.
the school readiness resolution memorandum. Yeah, I'm looking at the back. Now you're looking at the back.
Yep.
And that's for preparing our little ones.
That's the 4-year-olds.
4-year-olds. You made mention earlier about the 300 and something thousand going into, what'd you say, fund equity?
That can, as part of the consolidation that's allowed by the state of Michigan, these funds can be used to offset the foundation allowance if the district so chooses to do
Which
so.
essentially means we're going to park the $300,000 in the general fund because we can't start programs now because they'd have to run through August. And then, depending on what the timing is for the funding for next year, use that money to get the program started on time.
Okay, but we won't receive additional monies next year under this program, correct?
We should continue to,
You could if there's a new allocation process and a new program.
Right, it
The
would
only
be
point, the only point with the 363.8 is that it's a carryover to use the startup money the next time around, so you don't have to draw down from your fund equity or your general fund.
Okay.
Okay? Mrs. Sheets?
You just answered my question about the carryover.
Thank you. Mrs. Rucker, the roll, please.
Mrs. Demashki?
Yes.
Mr. Herring?
Yes.
Mr. Krewall?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheets?
Yes.
Ms. Bayless?
Yes.
Ms. Chapman?
Yes.
Mr. Stout?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next up, we're being asked to approve the Scholastic READ 180 adoption. Mr. Sharkey?
I will send this down to Mrs. Moser's end of the table.
Scholastic Read 180 materials purchase that you have before you will enable the district to provide a strategic reading intervention for middle school students who are 1 to 2 years behind their peers in reading acquisition. The pilot program is designed to target 60 students at Central Middle School during the second semester, providing instruction in a 2-hour block of time that will include 90 minutes of reading daily in addition to work on writing skills. The program was presented and approved by IDC last week, where it received very enthusiastic support. All of the costs that are associated with this pilot program will be covered through the ARA funds. The licenses will ultimately be able to be used in any of our middle schools, so we're treating this as a pilot program for consideration of future expansion to other middle school programs. Again, this is out of the expiring 2011 expiring ARA funds, which are designed specifically for reform interventions, and this is an ideal purchase for those funds. So it is my recommendation that the Board of Education approve the Scholastic Read 180 adoption as presented in your board packet.
And there's
Thank
a
you. Oh, go ahead,
twofold
Mr.
issue on that is, number one, it is paid for by stimulus funds, and it's going to be at Port Huron Central, which is going to positively affect those students and that school. But that also feeds into Port Huron High School, and this is an intervention we think will really help those students by the time they get to 9th grade, because, you know, we had a little difficulty with AYP last year, and getting those 9th graders started properly to lower dropout rates, et cetera. So we think this could be a real key that's not paid for by school district money, but paid for by the ARRA is the official name of the federal stimulus money. So it's a win-win for 2 schools and for the district at no cost to us.
So, I'm sorry.
Could we have a motion supporting the recommendation first?
So moved. Support.
Are there any questions, Mr. Chapman?
And then me.
I forgot. So this is, do we have people set aside to do this? We have other teachers that are in place right now to?
We would be, actually, I believe that we are going to be transferring a teacher over from Chippewa Middle School.
One teacher?
One teacher.
And is this during the day or after school?
This is during the day. The students will be scheduled with, there will be 60 students selected based on their performance on the MEEP and teacher recommendation. And they would be grouped in a 2-hour block of time. We'll block their ELA time and their reading writing applications course. And we'll offer that 3 times during the day. So there'll be basically 3 sections of that run throughout the day.
Ms. Bayless, question still?
I do. Because it's the AAR money, we have to spend it first, turn in everything, then we get the money back, right?
We spend first, we then get reimbursed on this program?
Again, I'm going to defer on this one because it's unique funding.
Yes, the ERA monies, depending on which specific amount this is, but yes, they are reimbursement based. We spend the money and then we apply.
Mrs. Sheets?
Okay, now the teacher, because this is grant funded, correct?
It is grant funded.
Okay, so this never, like, this money doesn't make it into the general fund, so, but now the instructor that is going to be administering this program, they are grant funded also, correct, or no?
The salary for this teacher would be covered by the ARA grant fund.
Okay.
Ms. Bayless, another question?
We're going to start this at Central, and if it works well, next year we would be going into all 4 middle schools. At that time, do we have to buy more to continue the program, or is this program going to be it for, years to come?
What we will do is look at the efficacy of the program. Is it as effective as we believe that it's going to be? The purchase of the software licenses, there are 60 of them. That's a one-time purchase. We will own those licenses forever. They can be transferred to other sites. We could divide the program between 2 sites if we wanted to, depending on the need. We could also expand the program if we chose to do so. We have other at-risk funds that we could use to support this if we chose to expand it.
So then we would, at some point, possibly have to spend more money?
If we chose to expand the program, we could use at-risk funds that we are currently using for other intervention programs, and we could reallocate them to this program.
And that is something that occurs, whether it's with grant funds, stimulus funds, our at-risk money, gives us an opportunity to put some programs in, and then there may come a time when we've got to determine if now it's going to be general fund funded, can we still do it? But in the meantime, while it's being paid for, we're going to take advantage of it, evaluate it, and see if it's something that really works for us.
Mrs. Rucker, please.
Mr. Herring?
Yes.
Mr. Krewall?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheets?
Yes.
Ms. Bayless?
Yes.
Ms. Chapman?
Yes.
Mrs. Damashki?
Yes.
Mr. Stout?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Under Division for Human Resources, we're being asked to approve the personnel change report. Mr. Shorkey, please.
Thank you very much. I will give this to Mr. Woline, who has the detail.
Thank you, Mr. Shorkey. As you look at this document, and it's been stated tonight, our financial situation, not only for the Board of Education, but for the administrators as well, these are very emotional, difficult decisions that will affect the lives of some of our staff. 20 full-time paraprofessional positions are being affected by this mid-year reduction. And with the reorganization of the media schedule, each media center will be covered either AM or PM. For this to happen, the following contractual requirements were followed, including seniority status, and 9 media paraprofessionals will be recalled, 2 at the middle school and 7 at the elementary level. And Mr. Stout, it would be my recommendation for the board to accept the personnel report as presented.
Thank you. Could we have a motion supporting that recommendation?
So moved, Mr. President.
Support.
Thank you. Discussion?
I would like to amend it. I would like to take it in 2 parts. The first part being the leave of absence, the reinstatement, and the reinstatement of, certified, non-certified, and then the second piece being the parapros.
So your motion is to divide the layoff from the normal personnel.
Correct.
Is there a second for that?
Yeah. I support.
Second, Ms. Chapman. Discussion?
I-
First of all, what's that?
Wasn't
Well,
that motion on the table?
yeah, the first motion's on the table, but there's a motion to amend it now, so we'll talk, because that was made and supported, we'll talk about the amendment to the original motion right now. First off, I don't support that concept. I don't want to get into the habit of dividing this every time we have to come along and make an additional decision like this down the road. We haven't done it in the past, and it's been part of the personnel, and I think it sets a bad precedent, so I would not be in favor of amending that. Anyone else?
I would echo you, Senator.
I'm supporting it.
Yes,
I'm lost, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
We'll catch up in a second.
Okay.
The original motion is to approve the personnel report as presented with both parts, the normal personnel and the parapro layoff notice all as one item.
Okay.
That was made and seconded. Ms. Bayless made a motion to amend that to separate the two items, the normal personnel portion and the decision about the layoff notices, into two separate votes. That motion was made and seconded. We're now discussing the amendment first, before we can move back to the original motion.
So when Mrs. Rucker asks how you want to vote, it's,
So we're
do
talking
you want to
about headings
split it?
first.
Yeah, right. So when we get to the vote on this portion, we want to know, do you want to split the report or consider it as one? And again, any other comments? Mrs. Rucker, we will vote on the amendment to the motion, and the question is, if you are in favor of splitting the two, vote yes. If you're not in favor of splitting the two, vote no.
Mr. Krewall.
No.
Mrs. Sheets.
I have to vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Or abstain.
We'll come,
Can
we
give me a
come back
few
to it?
minutes, because
We
I
can
don't
pass,
know.
we can
We'll come back
pass,
to you.
we'll come back.
to you.
Ms. Bayless,
Yes.
Ms. Chapman,
yes.
Mrs. Damashki,
No.
Mr. Herring,
No.
Mr. Stout,
No.
Mrs. Sheets,
No.
motion defeated to amend it.
Now
Which
the
moves
original motion's
moves
on
us
the
back
table.
to our original motion, and which was,
Personnel changes.
right, to approve the personnel report in its entirety. Discussion on that?
Yes.
Mrs. Chapman, please.
You know, as this is, and I know we have very difficult times financially throughout our state and our city, et cetera, but I cannot consciously sit here and vote to lay off 17 individuals for a mere $100,000 or $60,000 in savings at the expense of our kids in the middle of this school year. So I just don't think this is a real, true, rational need that has to be done now for the sake of our kids. I would rather lay off somebody that our kids are not involved with, you know, and I don't mean to say anything about that our kids are not directly involved with. I'm not saying that everybody's job is not important, but when you impact our kids in a way in the middle of their school year, I cannot consciously sit here and vote for something like that, especially when the expense is not that we're going to be saving is not that great. We still have $3 million that we're going to have to cover. So, I mean, if you can lay off people elsewhere that do not impact our kids, and I'm not going to say who, I would rather that be done and save money, especially at this time of the school year for our children.
Anyone else?
I'm going to agree with Patsy. The reason why, there's been a lot of questions raised tonight, some that we don't have answers to yet. And I think there's other reductions, other things that we can do. If we've had two groups come forward already and are adjusting their insurances for us, I would hope that other groups would step up now, especially now with the financial crisis resolution, that they will come forward and begin to have great dialogue with us so that we can do other things, so that we're not taking people away from our students. At some point, I know we're going to have to. This is not going to get easier. Districts are cutting buses. Districts are shutting down schools, which that's some things that we're doing. But I also cannot vote for this at this time.
Okay. I'd just like to comment that listening to all the speakers, the 15 who came to the microphone, particularly one comment that Chad made, the president of PHEA, said that this is a cut our students cannot afford. So I would ask each and every one in this room, and everyone at home, and everyone else in the community, what exactly is the cut our students can't afford? And who does it involve, if not you? One of your colleagues? We've had an opportunity, and like I spoke earlier, we said that at any time, because one of the suggestions, we need to find someplace else, can't we go back to the bargain? Through mutual agreement, any labor group and the district can sit down and mutually agree to sit down and talk about any item they want to talk about. We got hit with a $2 million increase in our Mesa health insurance. And our superintendent sent out a letter inviting the PHEA to come to the bargaining table and sit down and see if we could not work something out, because that was going to be an unexpected expense we were going to have that was going to have wide ramifications across the district. And the response from the group was, no, thank you. So if this is a cut that our students cannot afford, then where exactly is that cut that they can afford? And whose job and whose other position does that involve? Certainly not you. Anyone else?
Yes.
Ms. Chapman?
I want to say something. I don't speak well because I'm missing some things up here in my mouth, so bear with me. But, you know, we just had this grant thing for, earlier, we discussed the grants for reading readiness, et cetera, et cetera. One of our major concerns with our media parapros is whether or not you're going to get the same service in terms of book service, media work, how to run the machines and stuff like that. And you know, when we sit here and we've got someone who's talented, who's able to work this computer and bring everything up on that screen, that's excellent. But a lot of people can't do that, not all the time, because they don't study that stuff all the time. And our systems are changing all the time, so we have to stay up with that. Now, if we get people in there, half the time they're doing this and half the time they're doing that, and they're not really concentrating on the changes and that are developing throughout our educational system, then our kids are going to still fall behind. You know, the reading readiness, that begins with the 4 years old. We seem to leave them out, the kids out when they're 5th grade into intermediate, and that's where our kids are failing, is in that intermediate level. They get it when they're little, and then we miss out on it when they're a little older. And then by the time they get to high school, we wonder what's gone on, you know, what went wrong. $100,000 or $60,000, I don't care what it is. If it's $100,000, it's still not worth it in terms of our kids losing the ability to get that additional assistance when they need it within our school system. Also, the concern with how you're going to replace, if you're going to, I'm assuming you're going to do away with in-house suspensions, but how that's going to impact the school overall, especially in the middle of the school year. We could have this discussion in the summertime and then have it prepared for the following fall school year, but not in the middle of the school year for the sake of our kids, because there's going to be a lot of adjustments. You ask, where do the cuts begin? As I said, there are people that are behind the scenes. I'm not saying I know what their jobs are, but there are people that are not directly involved with these kids that could be cut as well. And I just don't think it's right to be careful. And I'm not just saying this to grandstand or anything like that. We talked about this last month, focusing on the needs of our children. We're leaving the needs of our children out when we start looking at money, and things, rather than our children. And our children need that additional assistance to get them over the hump. And I just don't feel right about voting for that.
Thank you. Mrs. Rucker, could we call the roll, please?
Mr. Krewell.
Yes.
Mrs. Sheets.
She's sick.
I can't ask a question, can I? Because it's too late now, right?
Right.
We'll come-
We're asking you to vote.
I thought long and hard about it, and I don't know. So, if I don't know, then I need more information and more time. So, that would mean that I need to vote now, no now, and then this can come back later, correct?
Come back later? I don't. This is the issue now.
I understand.
Right. There will be other things that will come to you as we get through the process, certainly, yes, during the year, and additional things that will come before you also. But the question right now is, do you vote yes or no on the approval of the personnel report as recommended?
No.
Ms. Bayless?
No.
Ms. Chapman?
No.
Mrs. Damashki?
Yes.
Mr. Herring?
With much regret, I gotta say yes.
Mr. Stout?
Yes.
Motion carried, 4-3.
Thank you. We have no items for information. This is the second opportunity for citizens to come to the microphone and speak to the board. If you wish, would please come forward, state your name. Mr. Manaline, welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Stout. Always a pleasure, and thank you for the opportunity once again to speak. On the first issue about the opportunity to sit down with the MEA and discuss this, our labor economist, Ruth Beyer, would love to meet with the district and discuss your finances, so we graciously accept your invitation.
We'll see you tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock.
We can talk to arrange a date at an appropriate time, and we can have Ruth available.
You can get with the administration, work out a date and a time.
And then secondly, I do have a few ideas of areas where some adjustments could be made that could save the district considerable amount of money, and I would be happy to meet with any board member to discuss some of the ideas I have. And so I would take you up at 9 o'clock tomorrow to discuss that if you're free.
You got my number.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chad.
Hello, my name is Jack Tippa. I'd like to address Mr. Stout, the board, Mr. Shorkey, and the administrators. Two schools in our district have closed at the beginning of the school year. There were teachers, janitors, and support staff that had to be displaced because of this cut in schools. And I understand, and it's been brought up many times, that the represented people have their way of going about this. And I think many times when there are cuts made, that's always brought up about the representation of the different groups. Tonight, numerous times it was brought up. I know that different ones were placed in different areas according to their seniority. I believe there were a principal at each of those buildings. I believe one principal in the district retired, and consequently one of those principals took that position. I would question where the other principal went. And I understand that there are many represented people in this school district, and I think the school board looks at that, or the administrators look at that like they are protected by that. And thank God for that we do have those type of representations. But it seems to me like the administrators have a pretty good representation also. And I would question where that other principal went. If they were laid off, what happened there? And also, are we, in the reduction of our attendance in the school district, are we adjusting our program directors in that accordingly? It would seem to me like the $62,000 we are going to save here is just minimal compared to the salary of one person who is the head of a department, or possibly even an administrator, whether or not we have to. The impact that these media professionals have on the students in our schools is going to be greatly felt, I believe. And the cost of one person in an administrative position may be able to be divided up amongst another couple of individuals in that position. We're asking we understand that there's a lot of funds that are being cut from the state. I applaud you in trying to be conscientious about the budget, but I would also expect that everybody, from the person on top, Mr. Shorkey, to the person on the bottom, who are these media paraprofessionals, who are making probably the least wage of everybody, that everybody take a part in this. Everybody do their part, not just the little people to save a big person's job. And I think you should look at this in the coming months and rethink this, although I think the vote was taken. But I wanted to speak earlier, but I think it was appropriately now because we saw where everybody stood on this, and I think it's highly unfortunate that we couldn't sit down and talk about that a little more amongst you. So I would hope that you'd be able to take this information and maybe do something with it so that this wouldn't be such a drastic cut to the schools and the children. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Mr. Tippett. Okay. Mr. Tippett, we may have a response for a couple of your questions immediately tonight under board comments. So, go ahead, please.
Good evening. I'm Donna Green from Indian Woods Elementary, and at this point, I'm disappointed that I did not get up and speak before we had our vote. I'm representing my students right now. I teach 5th grade, and I'm always the one that's in the holiday sweaters and whatnot. And I said to the students, I said, well, are you wondering why I have my school sweatshirt on today? And they said, yes, why are you doing that? And I said, well, because there's a very important meeting tonight. And it comes down to that money is short, and we're looking at possibly having to cut Mrs. Olson's job, where we will have somebody only at 50% of the time in our media center. And as it's been mentioned, to happen halfway through the year, my 5th graders who've worked with her, she's brought our program so far, and they were simply devastated. And I had children actually asking me, can I come to the meeting too? And this goes back to what people said. They were here to represent the parents that don't understand what's going on. And so I want to very deeply thank Board Member Bayless, Board Member Chapman for saying, I think that we need some more time. I thank you very much for doing that. One of the questions I had was that the Scholastic 180 program, we were talking about transferring someone from Chippewa Middle School to Central Middle School, and I just wondered, would that be a regular ed teacher? Would that be somebody that would be paid currently out of grant money?
That's a regular ed teacher.
Okay, that's an interesting point, because if it is a regular ed teacher that will now be able to be paid out of grant money, that essentially would even out our cost for those media parapros.
Thank you.
So again, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for well thought out comments.
Thank you. We'll move to board comments. Any board members with comments this evening? Mrs. Damaski, please.
Well, I haven't said anything yet, but I'd like to make a couple comments. I think everybody that came up here to the microphone and spoke mentioned that there is a real dire financial crisis. And I think everybody knows that that financial crisis was created not by us. It's totally beyond our control. And if anyone watches the news, and I'm sure you all do, or read the paper, you know that we're not in this alone. Every district in Michigan is going through similar problem, if not worse. I personally will not agree to any decision that will put us in a borrowing position. That is a very irresponsible way to go. The reason we've been able to maintain our district the way we have is because we were careful with our money. We were able to save some of it to be able to use it when we need to, and that's what we're doing now. But we are fast approaching the point where we're gonna start borrowing. And that is a very irresponsible thing to do on part of our board members. The other point, somebody brought up the fact that we should not be making decisions halfway through the year. Well, the cuts were made halfway through the year. I think in every one of your households, if you lose your job halfway through the year or your salary is cut halfway through the year, you have to make discussions to make some adjustment halfway through the year. So this is totally beyond our control. The problem lays at Lansing, at the state level. If we have problems, they are the ones that we need to address. They need to put education first, and they are not doing that.
Anyone else?
Yeah, all due respect. There are positions, secretarial positions that could be cut that would save these jobs of these individuals. And I didn't want to say that, but there are people that are doing things that do not directly impact the education of our children that could be cut if we need to cut $100,000. $100,000 is not worth it for our children halfway through the school year. That's just bottom line. It's not worth it.
Mr. Herring, did you have a comment?
I do. And this is before actually what Patsy said. And it goes back to what Mr. Tippa said. In the last 4 or 5 years, we have cut a lot at the top. If you've been in the ad building lately, the place is a ghost town. We've cut secretaries in the buildings. We've cut assistant principals' jobs out. And one that has bothered me a lot that we did cut was the secretaries' jobs a lot. I see how much the secretaries do. And no offense to any other group in our district, but I want to tell you the secretaries are the backbone of this district, and they are stretched. I've been in the schools. The principal gets something that she has to take or he has to take care of. The secretary's got 4 phones ringing. There's 2 kids puking in the office, and you got one secretary to handle all that. We eliminated the service personnel and all that. So, we have many of our what were executive positions, I believe 7 or 8 of them in the last few years have disappeared. We're in the process of one of our buildings closing at the end of this year is the ad building. We're going to get into hopefully a different situation where it's much more efficient, and there may be some more personnel up in that area that goes too. So it is unfortunate to sit here and have to cut any job is terrible. I've been through it. I've been laid off 18 months right now. This is my second Christmas with no job, so I can very sympathize with how it is. But I believe we have cut in every area leading up to this, and unfortunately, it has come to a point where, heaven forbid, it will affect the kids, and more decisions we are going to make over these next year or so. This could go on for another 2 or 3 years the way the state's screwing around, and we are going to be left in a much worse situation coming up. So I really do feel bad about having to do this, but sooner or later it's going to happen, and it's going to go a lot deeper and a lot taller than it is right now. On a good note, it's kind of hard to do right now, but I was able to march with the Big Red Marching Machine in the Santa Parade. They've had 3 other parades out of town, which they've gone to. Last Thursday night, Port Huron High had their Christmas concert, which was excellent. There's a couple of the middle school concerts coming up. Thursday night is Port Huron Northern's Christmas concert, which should be very excellent. We've got the choir concerts, and I encourage you to attend those, even if you don't have kids over there. It's well worth going out for a family outing and see some of the excellent things that do come out of the district. So, other than that, the only thing I can say is Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Mr. Tippa had a couple specific questions that I think we can shed some light on. So, Mr. Shorkey?
Not some, as
or maybe. A little bit.
Maybe a little bit, and I don't know if I get all jacks, but especially for the audience home, because a lot of people do watch these Board of Education meetings. As Jeff indicated, over the past 3 years, 20% of the administrative staff has been eliminated in Port Huron Area School District. But I think it's important to note that the Building Principals Association and the administrators and secretaries are not represented by unions, and our tech people at the central office accepted a pay freeze. They've been paying premiums on their health insurance for the last 2 years. This year, they voluntarily took a higher deductible, pay for office calls, significant savings from the administrative group that have occurred that has not occurred with some other groups in the school district. So that has happened. As far as we closed 2 buildings, we had the opportunity for a 21st century grant, $1.8 million. We employ 46 people in this district. We run an incredible after-school program in this district that has been expanded now to both high schools. It's in 10 elementaries and a couple of middle schools, and one of those principals oversees that program. Phenomenal opportunity for our students. They study, they learn, they have all kinds of opportunities when they have no place to go after school. That 21st century program, including our Indian education program, where our coordinator retired, that particular administrator picked up that program also. That was a tremendous bang for the buck. There are things that have done in the administration in the district, and I know people may think different people scratch each other's back. But any group that will come here and say, increase our deductibles, we'll pay for a portion of our health insurance, freeze our salaries, what else do you need? I think, I don't want the audience at home to think that that hasn't happened. So that was.
There is one thing that I forgot to mention. I've got a memo here of some of the legislative action that's going on right now. The House Education Committee is expanding charter school stuff. And I, for one, would like to go on record saying that I believe charter schools in Michigan are a divide and conquer, and we do not need them. I would support eliminating charter school, period, or make them much more accountable than what they are. They're taking money from our pockets. And that's something that I would also like you to spread to your legislative branch. End charter schools in Michigan, put our kids back in public school so we can put that money back into our funds and into our children's lives.
With that, we'll take this opportunity to move to our closed session with the reminder that when no action will be taken, we're going to release the television crew. There will be no filming of the final adjournment when we come back. Thank you for attending, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all. Thank you.